During the general debate, the Russian foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, used his remarks to essentially lay out the Russian view of the world and argue that Russia is trying to de-escalate conflicts around the world, that dialogue is necessary. In his speech, he criticized the United States for basically ignoring the interests of other countries and replacing the rule-based international order with new rules that were convenient for them in the moment.
Leading Western countries are trying to impede the development of a multipolar world in order to regain their privileged position, to impose standards of conduct on others that are based on the narrow Western interpretation of liberalism. In a nutshell, we're liberals, hence everything is permitted. In pursuit of this policy, the West has been increasingly loath to recognize international law, and more often, and more insistently, dwells on a rules-based order.
In the press conference that followed his remarks before the General Assembly, he seemed to hit on similar themes. He talked about many instances around the world where it seemed like the United States was not helping to stabilize international tensions. He pointed toward the situation with Iran, where the United States unilaterally pulled out of the JCPOA.
The problem started when the U.S. unilaterally withdrew from the agreement and told everyone else to stop abiding by it too, promising sanctions over trade with Iran. I believe these actions were destructive, not only for the situation around Iran's nuclear program, but also for the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons and the whole situation in the region.
His response to a question that was raised about the fact that members of the Russian delegation for the UN General Assembly had their visas pulled at the last minute. So he asked the question, who is responsible for making these decisions?
I do not believe that either President Trump or Secretary Mike Pompeo had anything to do with that. Mr. Pompeo also stated that. But assuming that's true, then a question arises. How are decisions being made in the U.S., especially those directly linked to Washington's obligations to ensure the normal functioning of UN headquarters?
A number of countries were touched on during the press conference. Many questions were asked about Syria, about Venezuela, about the situation in the Middle East. He emphasized that Russia is working with the different Arab states to try and resolve the tension and de-escalate the situation in the Gulf. So it was quite an interesting interaction, touching on many different situations, but emphasizing that Russia is committed to de-escalation and dialogue, not stirring up and exacerbating international tensions or domestic conflicts within countries.